Welcome to Watches with Dennis, and today I am reviewing the Hamilton Khaki Pilot Pioneer Auto Chrono, model number H764569555. This watch is from my personal collection. It was purchased from Shop Worn, meaning that the watch was sold as a model that was used for display and demonstration purposes, but was never owned by a customer. Visually, the watch was like new when I acquired it, though the chronograph's minute tracker was not resetting properly, and the watch had to be returned for servicing twice to fix the issue. This watch model was introduced in 2013, and the Hamilton Khaki Pilot Pioneer Auto Chrono is based off of one of the 1970s Hamilton designs that they had for the Royal Air Force. Let me go ahead and get it a little bit closer up here for y'all. So this has a domed sapphire crystal. It features 100 meters of water resistance, has a diameter of 41 millimeters. The lug-to-lug is 47 millimeters, and the lug width is 22 millimeters. The watch is pretty thick. It comes in at a height of 16 millimeters. Looking at the face of the watch here, you may notice it isn't actually symmetrical. The right side protrudes out more than the left, and this is to accommodate the crown and the chrono pushers. It's definitely noticeable when you're wearing it and looking at it, but I don't think it really looks that odd, and I think it's been integrated into the design pretty well. This is the silver dial variant of the watch, but I do think that the dial face has something of a beige look. It's got a sunburst dial design. You can kind of see that in all the reflection. The watch has these lozenge-style hands, and it features two subdials. So the subdial on the left here, that is the small seconds of the watch. You can see it has Arabic numerals at the 20, 40, and 60 second positions. And then the right subdial is what measures the minutes of the chronograph, and it shows Arabic numerals at the 10, 20, and 30 minute positions. So as that would suggest, this watch only goes to 30 minutes on the chronograph. And that is historically accurate to this watch's design, but obviously that's pretty limiting in terms of functionality, and you would be restricted to only being able to time short duration events. There is a date window. It's featured at the 4:30 position, and I know that's not a very popular position for watches by a lot of people, and so that's going to alienate some of you. I'm okay with the placement on this watch. I like the size and how small it is. However, what does bother me is that there is a stark white background for the dial of the date, and I think it creates a somewhat cheap look to this watch, and it does not integrate particularly well with what otherwise I think is a pretty well thought out dial design with this silver beige color scheme. In terms of the overall time telling on the watch, you can see that there are Arabic numerals that go throughout the dial diameter, other than where the subdials are positioned for the 3 and the 9. The 12 and the 6 are well loomed, and every hour position, including the 12 and the 6, has a lume pip. There is lume on the hour hand, there's lume on the minute hand, and there is also lume on the chronograph's second pointer. There is no lume on either of the subdials, and at this point I'm going to go ahead and insert some footage I took of the watch's lume so you can see it actually in a darkened environment. Using a flashlight here just to charge up this lume so you guys can get a good look at it. Find the on-off button here. Okay. So as you can see, this watch does have quite a good lume. The hour and minute hands are generously applied, as is the 12 and 6 on the dial, so they're quite clear. You can also clearly indicate every single hour marker has a pip. You can also, at about the 6 o'clock position right now, see the sweeping seconds of the second pointer regarding the chronograph aspect. That's the only part of the chronograph that does have lume, but clearly the watch is quite legible in dark environments. Having had this watch for quite a while, I can say that the lume does last a long time, and with this generous quantity, it does make it quite an easy read in the dark. Okay, so the watch features a steel caseback. It's a sandblasted look. I think it's pretty attractive overall. The added touch I noticed, which is pretty nice, is on the crown, the H for Hamilton is actually polished, but everything else is sandblasted. I do want to note about the crown that while this does feature 100 meters of water resistance, this is not a screw-down crown. And so I think that's going to be a concern to a lot of people if they're actually considering going swimming, because they'll not readily be able to just quickly twist it and know, oh yeah, this is locked into place, I'm ready to get it wet. But they do say it does go to 100 meters even without a screw-down, so I've not tested that feature myself, however. At the 10 o'clock position on the edge of the case, there is a button that is flush, that you could use a toothpick or something. That is to handle the quick set for the date. So you can quickly change it rather than adjusting through moving the hands themselves. Since this doesn't have a screw down crown, when the crown is fully into the case, you can wind the watch, and I'll see if I can pick up the sound for it. Maybe too soft to hear without putting it right up against the microphone. However, I did my best. When pulling the crown out into position, we can adjust the time. Pretty standard there. As for the chronograph, buttons are pretty much as you would expect if you have any familiarity with the chronograph. The top chronograph button will start and pause the chronograph feature. As such, the bottom button will reset. So the minute hands have jumped back to the 30 position, which is functioning as 0, and the second pointer is back up at the 12. So flipping the watch over, you can see that it does have a display case back. Unfortunately, it is blocked by the NATO strap that the watch came on. However, I'm not removing the NATO strap because there's really nothing to see here. This movement is minimally decorated, and so it's not impressive to look at. However, if you are interested in that, you can always go with a strap option that will allow you to enjoy it. And the watch features what Hamilton calls their caliber H31. The H31 is actually a modified Valjoux 7753. It's an ETA-owned movement. And since Swatch owns ETA and owns Hamilton, they get to do these sort of custom features. This movement is 27 joules. It's 4 hertz. It does have several modifications, as you would expect, versus the original Valjoux base caliber. Most notably, this watch now features a 60-hour power reserve. The original 7753 movement only had 42 hours of power reserve. Just like the Valjoux, this does feature a unidirectional rotor, and you will know it when you are wearing it. So, as the H31 only automatically winds in one direction, hence unidirectional, the rotor freely spins the other way. It can and it will spin fast, and it is both relatively noisy and it's got an extremely noticeable wobble when you're wearing it on the wrist. That said, my movement itself has been pretty accurate. I used the Watch Accuracy Meter app, and I've measured this watch in 5 different resting positions via my cell phone, and I'm getting an average loss of 2.4 seconds per day and a positional range on those 5 measurements of -5 seconds per day to +2 seconds per day. As you can see, this watch is on an olive green NATO strap. This is the strap that it came with. Hamilton sold this with 3 different strap options, and this is the one I ended up with. I really like this strap. It's quite comfortable, but in particular, I enjoy that it's got this added leather reinforcement at the watch at the holes, and so it adds some added wear security, I would say, in terms of not tearing those holes out when you put the watch on and off repeatedly. Obviously, being a NATO, you can see it's double banded here. That it's adding some thickness to an already pretty thick watch. But as I noted earlier, this does have a lug width of 22 millimeters, so you can easily find alternative straps for it. That said, given the size and style of this watch, I don't think you can ever really dress it up that much. I think it's really only going to ever be suitable for a casual wear environment. So here is the watch on my 6 3/4 inch wrist, so you can get a sense as to how it actually wears. You probably won't hear the wobble, but I can sure feel it. It's still spinning right now. Okay, so what are my overall thoughts of this watch? The positives are it's quite accurate, it's got great lume, it's got a well thought out dial, it's got a pretty comfy strap, and I think it's got a quite wearable diameter and lug-to-lug size. The negatives, however, are it has an ugly date window, it's got that annoying Valjoux style rotor wobble, the 16mm height thickness makes it annoying with mini cuffs, and the chronograph's very limited at only going to 30 minutes of measurement. Overall, this is a good chronograph to consider if you're looking for an automatic mechanical watch at the lower end of the price spectrum, and either only want the look of it or you don't need to time things past 30 minutes functionally. Hamilton sells this watch on their website for $1,845, but you can often find it online for under $1,000. I would recommend trying it on to see if you can tolerate the H31/Valjoux 7753 rotor wobble. Some people actually enjoy it, but I find it extremely distracting, and I thought the watch was broken at first, as this was the very first time I ever had a mechanical watch that I could feel the rotor on my wrist. So to this day, it's the most noticeable rotor I have ever experienced, and personally, I wouldn't have bought it had I known it wobbled that much, but lesson learned. Thanks for watching this review video. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like as it helps the channel out. Subscribe if you'd like to be automatically notified when I release new videos. Thanks for watching and have a great day.